בואו לפגוש את האנשים שמזיזים את העולם. מעלה אינסייט, זירת מפגשים עם בחירי התעשייה העולמית שיכינו אתכם טוב יותר לקריירה. והפעם, סטון, מייסד רשת טוויטר.
בעמק הסיליקון שבסן פרנסיסקו אנחנו פוגשים את סטון, אחד מחלוצי הרשתות החברתיות שהיה שותף בהקמתה של חברת טוויטר, השירות שמאפשר ל-650 מיליון משתמשים לומר את דעתם ב-140 תווים. הפיכה במצרים, חרם בטורקיה והסלפי ששבר את האינטרנט. איך הוא עושה את זה? מה לדעתו צריך יזם כדי להצליח? ולמה עזב את החברה כדי לבנות רשת חברתית אחרת? התשובות אצל סטון. Hello, Mr. Stone.
Hello,
Thank you
Stanley.
for meeting us.
Thank you for having me.
It's very exciting to meet you, and I was wondering who was the person that you were excited to meet when you first started your business?
Actually, the first person I was excited to meet was Evan Williams. We became business partners, and we co-founded Twitter together, but we knew each other only from the internet. The funny thing is, we had rival companies for a couple of years. I had started an early social blogging network, and he had started Blogger, and they were competing companies, but at the same time we both admired each other too. So actually I was very excited to meet him.
Your creative thought turned into something so massive and powerful. Was there a moment that made you stop and say, wow, I can't believe this is happening?
One of the first bigger moments was in March of 2007. We went to this technology conference in Texas. And this is the first time that we were able to see Twitter sort of out in the wild, so to speak, you know, because there was a very high concentration of, you know, nerds basically who were the early adopters of Twitter, and they were all in this one location. And this is the first time that we were able to sort of watch Twitter in action. And something happened that made me really, like, it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And that was when I heard a story the next day about the night before, when there was someone who was at a bar that night, and he noticed it was too loud. He was too loud for talking. So he sent out a tweet that said, I'm going to go to this quieter place if anyone else wants to join me for, you know, quiet discussion about what we're working on. So that's what he did. And in the 8 minutes it took him to walk to that bar, it had completely filled up and there was a line out the door. And so his plan backfired, but what had happened was his tweet, you know, went out to his followers. They thought it was a good idea. They sent out the same tweet, and so on and so forth. And so what happened was a massive group of people moved in real time to this location. And so what that for me signaled was, wow, what we have here is a new form of communication for humanity. And I thought to myself, this is just a party, but what if it was something serious? And that's when I was like, wow, I think there's something here. And I think it was 2 days later we actually turned Twitter into a real company, because that's when we really thought this could be something big.
I'll go back to Twitter.
Okay.
Why do you think it's so successful in some countries and not so much in others, such as Israel?
I don't think there's any sort of easy mathematical equation answer to that sort of question. It all has to do with people, you know, and like whether or not people find value in it. You know, Twitter will evolve, you know, over the years, you know, you know, it may be used to self-organize for protests, it may be used to self-organize for charity, it may end up being used just for entertainment purposes, you know, just for fun. I mean, you know.
To go to the other bar.
Yeah, to go to the other bar, or to just, you know, follow your favorite sports team, or, you know, your favorite entertainer, or whatever it is. I mean, the beauty of something like Twitter is that it's just so broad in its appeal, and once people find something that they like about it, it starts to catch on.
Did you feel the same feeling now launching Jelly?
Well, yeah. Now I'm starting to have little jelly moments, like where I realize that, wow, this is the type of thing that only people can do. So, just a quick description of Jelly is my co-founder Ben Finkel and I. We realized that no one had really completely rethought how we get answers to our queries in the past 15 years. No one's really taken on this challenge. And so what we did with Jelly is we designed a better way to ask a question. And Jelly uses photos, it uses maps and location, and most importantly, it uses your friends from your social networks.
What's the future for social networks?
In my idealistic view of the world, the future of social networking is that it really unites humanity in a way that makes us feel that we're not just citizens of a particular city or state or country, but citizens of the world. And my aspirational view, what social networking will enable us all to do is to cooperate, to work together, and to do really amazing things in a year that might have taken 100 years before, now that we're all networked and linked together. So that the future of social networking, I mean, that's a very high altitude view, but the future of social network to me is this very rosy, sort of very aspirational vision of a united humanity.
It sounds very beautiful, but the social network have presented many challenges for organizations, exposing them to criticism. In what ways do you think that companies should harness social networks to promote their business?
This is a very interesting topic to me, because you say that in some ways social networking has exposed brands and businesses, right? And the way I look at it is that's good, because I actually think that there's some amount of value in vulnerability. One of the first brand names to go on Twitter that I noticed was this airline named JetBlue. They were putting out tweets that were almost like little press releases. They were very dry, and they often just linked to their press release. And they noticed that no one was really paying attention. And after a while, the person who was running the Twitter account, it's almost, I imagine them having like a nervous breakdown, because they finally sent out a tweet that said something like, "What do you want from me?" And then they got this outpouring of reaction. They said, "This is what we want from you. You're acting like a real person." And I remember I was boarding a JetBlue flight, and I happened to mention it on Twitter, and I got an @reply that said, @biz, why don't you try the smoked almonds? We just added them as a snack. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like, the airline is tweeting me, you know, and it was fun.
So let's take it to the entrepreneur's side.
Okay.
How can anyone be a good one?
The first thing I often like to say to young entrepreneurs is, and this I learned the hard way, is that you really need to be emotionally invested in the projects that you're working on. If you're working on a project that you think other people will like, but you actually don't really care about, you're almost guaranteed to fail, because you won't have the strength of character to carry you through the toughest of times, because you don't really care about what you're working on. So you won't hang on to it in those terrible times. So I always say the number one advice for any entrepreneur is, you have to be emotionally invested in what you're working on. Then another key is, it's better to build something first. Build a prototype, even if it's not the shiniest, best version of what you want. But if you have something built with some people using it already, that's much better to be able to go out and show, we've already built something. Even if it's, you know, not scalable and it's nowhere near what you want it to be, as long as it's something that's working and you can point to how people are getting some kind of value out of it, you'll be so much further ahead than if you just show up at a meeting with some slides.
So what lessons do you learn from starting Twitter that you applied when you started Jelly?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. It sounds strange, but the future of marketing is philanthropy or altruism. In other words, if you align what you're doing, if you align your business with some sort of mission or cause that has a positive impact somehow in the world, that is going to make you more successful, because it's going to attract more customers, but it's also going to attract better people to work for you. So with Jelly, we've already, I mean, we were literally 2 weeks launched, and we already did a campaign with Product Red to help fight AIDS in Africa. I mean, these are things that the earlier you get started in doing good things and helping people, the more impact you'll have over time. So that's something we're building right into the fundamental philosophy of Jelly from the beginning. And by the way, our internal motto for Jelly is Jelly helps people. So I mean, that's what we want to do. We just want to try to help people. I really do believe that when your work is mission-based, when you're not just good at your work and you love your work, but you also feel like you're working towards something bigger and better in the world, then you just do the best work of your life. And that's what I want. That's what I look for, and that's what I want when I hire employees. I want them to come and I say, even if you only work for us for 2 years and then you leave, I want you to look back on this and feel like your time at Jelly was the most important work of your life.
Who is, or maybe was your best teacher?
I had a mentor named Steve Snyder, who I apprenticed with for several years and who is now one of my dearest friends. He's much older than me. What happened for me was I was going to university on a scholarship for excellence in the arts, and I got this job on the side moving these boxes, and it happened to be that I was moving boxes at a publishing company, and for books, and the art department, the people that designed all the book covers, they went out to lunch one day, and I was already good with computers, and this was at a time when they were just switching to desktop publishing. Mm-hmm. So I was good with the computers. I snuck onto the art director's computer. I designed a book cover. I slipped it in with the others to go out for approval. Went back to moving the boxes, and when the art director came back and said, "Who designed this book jacket?" I said, "Me." And he said, "The box kid." And then he offered me a job, and I had a choice to make. Do I drop out of college, where I have this great scholarship, and accept this job, or do I finish school? And I thought, well, don't people go to school to get this kind of job? I mean, but more importantly, I thought to myself, I'll have an opportunity to sit right next to this experienced art director every day and learn the craft of graphic design. And it wasn't just that. I grew up really without a father, and so I was able to not just learn about graphic design and designing book covers, but I was able to ask Steve, how did you know when it was the right time to ask your wife to marry you? Mm-hmm. How did you go about asking? How did you determine how much to ask for your first salary? Like these type. And he would say like, "Why are you asking me these types of questions?" And I would say, "Because you're older and you know." So I didn't just have this wonderful mentor. I had like a father figure, and it really was incredibly helpful to me, because what I learned from Steve in the field of graphic design translated very well, just in terms of the overall idea of creativity and how to approach certain challenges. It transposed very nicely into the world of technology.
Why did you decide to leave Twitter, such comfortable and stable company, to a new startup?
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's comfortable and stable, Not only that, but I sort of have this philosophy that, I don't know how do I put this? The more surface area for good that you can create in your lifetime, the better. So Twitter was on its way to becoming a timeless company of enduring value. Why not let it do that, and then try to start another one? And then maybe in my lifetime I can do it twice. I left, I noodled for a little while, I directed a film, I got back to my artistic roots, and then I started thinking sort of philosophically about sort of why are we the most connected humanity we've ever been? Like, what is the true promise of a connected society? And then I couldn't get out of my head this idea that the true promise of a connected society is people helping one another, really. And so that's the idea for Jelly was born of that. And so kind of took this period of time to ruminate, and then And then I said, well, now it's time to start another company and do it all over again. And I felt kind of, frankly, just to be honest, I felt sort of nauseous we came up with this idea, Ben Finkel and I, my co-founder, we came up with this idea, and we couldn't get it out of our heads. And I tried to talk myself out of it. I run it by different friends of mine who are very smart. I said, this is not a good idea, right? They said, this is a great idea. Oh, and it's uniquely suited to you. And I said, oh my God, now I have to do this all over again. So I almost didn't want to do it, but once we decided to do it, we were emotionally, like I said, emotionally invested, and we just had to do it.
What would be your message to the next generation, the one that you probably leave to jelly?
Well, I think my message to the next generation would be this idea that I have, which is that there's a compound impact in altruism. A lot of people, they do philanthropy wrong. They think they need to wait until they're old and successful and have money before they start giving back. But that's absolutely the wrong way to think about it. The earlier you get started helping other people, whether it's donating your time or donating even a little bit of money, the earlier you get started when you're young, you'll have massive impact over the course of your life, way more impact than if you were to say wait until you thought you were comfortable, which, by the way, no one ever really feels like they're comfortable. They always want more. So my advice to the younger generation of people would be to start getting active in helping others now. Do something local in your community, do something global, get involved earlier, because you're going to have a massive impact over time.
Mr. Stone, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me here.